Hey, welcome back, everybody. Guests rolling into the studio. It's head coach of the Desert Hills Thunder for the very first time, joining us, gracing us with his presence, Coach Taps. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning. Good to be here.
I didn't think I'd see you this soon, Coach, but Coach promised me. He said, "Hey, I'll be available for media interviews if we take a loss." Unfortunately, that happened against a good Brighton team last Friday. Take me through that season opener for the Thunder as the defending state champs. That was a huge test right out the gate.
Yep, it was. Our kids fought. They fought the whole way, and then we're pretty. One of the things is we're pretty young, all across the board. The state champ team last year was a heavy senior. This team is pretty young. We had some sophomore, thrown in the fire, like Boston, Bundy. We also saw it a few times. We threw in Cooper, Clark, and then we threw in Bo Meredith. We had some young guys, even on special team, running around. But it is what it is. We're not going to make excuses and cry about it. We're just going to line up and go.
I mean, you probably inherited some of these matchups. You played up at Brighton last year. You weren't part of this coaching staff last year. You come in as the head coach, and now you got to go to Lehigh in week 2, the number 5 team in the state of Utah, all classifications. But do you like that? Do you like these tough opponents to get you ready for Region 9 play?
Yeah, I love it. As you know, that even in the Big Sky, when I was in the Big Sky, we have to play 2 Pac-12 teams or mid-major teams in every year. So I'm used to it, So I just try to encourage these young kids. We just got to line up and play football, and with our coaching staff, trying to help them out every week to get going.
Coach Tapps was at SUU for 5 seasons or 6?
7.
7 seasons before. Is this your first ever high school job? You've always been a college coach. You were at Sac State before SUU.
And then prior to that, a couple of other small schools in Oregon. I'm old. I played in Oregon in the 80s at Portland State at the time, their Division II school. And then from there, I just kept going. So.
Well, we're glad to have you in Southern Utah. I know the Thunder are excited for you to take over. It's not often you have to take over for a state championship winning team as a new coach, but that's the circumstance with Coach Barry leaving to go be the defensive coordinator at Southern Virginia. Yeah. The program's in good hands. You got some dudes, though. You got to be pretty optimistic. Ocean Taufa put on a show on defense last Friday night.
Yeah, but they're still young. All of them are still young. Some of my top guys on that team, they're sophomores, they're juniors. They're still young. They're still learning the game. They're trying to understand a little bit of how I coach and try to bring a little bit of a style of college coaching to a high school, and it's an adjustment for a lot of our players and a lot of our coaches. So they're trying to adjust to how I do things.
Well, I've been hearing that practices are quicker than last year, and it's a next step up, and it's more like a college practice. Tell us a little bit more about that, and what are the players saying, and how are they adjusting to what it was like last year, a state championship season, to this year?
Well, as you guys know, we start at 6 a.m. So one of the reasons why I want to get these guys to bed early, so there's no trouble trying to help their parents out. So I always tell them nothing good happens at 9 o'clock at night. So when we get up in the morning, we start, the horn goes off at 6 o'clock, and every period is accounted, every minute, every second is accounted for. We're not just going to sit there and waste time. And it's not as fast as college right now, but I think these young men are getting the hang of it in terms of we're going to go fast and we're going to move fast from one period to another period to another period. So it's like an hour. I want to go like an hour 50 at the most. Now, during the summer, we went to 2 hours. But because school started, so we have to adjust to an hour 45 minutes, to an hour 50 at the most, and then get them off the field and get to school.
And Coach, I was on the Pineview call last week, and all the talk around the stadium was about Titan Mason. They lost him at Logan. He's a move-in, comes to Desert Hills, a total stud last week for you, 180-plus yards rushing. What did you see from the line blocking for him, or was it Mason just creating himself?
Yeah, we got to remember there's, we got a couple of veteran lineman guys, but we also got to try to rotate those young guys in, like a Luke Peterson, a Alec Taufa, and then you got Simon. Fualetolo. Those three guys are young. I don't think they took snaps last year. And then, from there, they're trying to learn how to fast pace the game. Those three young men, but I thought they did a pretty good job trying to hang on to those guys in terms of blocking scheme. I think Coach Stokes is doing a pretty good job getting those young guys prepared to get them going.
And Coach, I got to play offensive line. That's where my love is. I was calling your game last week, and I was watching closely. I noticed it looked like Stu Talfa switching over to center this year, getting a little bit more work on the interior offensive line, but it seems you guys rotated him at guard as well. Is that just kind of to get him some more reps at other positions, or is it as right now you're just trying to get the best 5 out on the field?
Well, the funny story is Coach Stokes and I and our OC, we didn't know that Stewart decided, he wanted his backup center to get some rep too, to get a rep. So he sat out until we figured out, where is our best guy? He's standing next to us. So we didn't realize that till in when we went into the third series. And so we said, Coach Stokes told him, you can't do that. So we just got him at guard, got him at center, just going back and forth. And also because literally we only have 7 O-linemen.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to rotate those young guys in to try to keep them fresh. And I think Coach Stokes did a pretty good job doing that.
I know you guys did use Cyrus a little bit on both sides of the ball and Javian Cummings a little bit on both sides of the ball. I know you want a platoon, but it's hard not to let those guys play offense and defense because they're such great athletes. Is that something you'll kind of weigh in and do a little bit more, a little bit less of based on matchups as you get through this preseason part of the schedule?
Yeah, probably a little bit less. We got some some good receivers, some good tight ends. We're young, obviously we're young at that spot, but there's some athletic guys over there. So maybe on certain situations in the game that we're going to probably play those guys in those certain situations when we need those two in there. And more so, Javian Cummings is probably going to go play a little bit more offense, we're going to try to help and stretch the field a little bit more with him in that aspect of the game, of our offensive stuff.
We've been talking with Coach Tapps, Desert Hills head football coach. They go to Lehigh Friday night. You'll be able to watch that game right on our website, thefansportsnetwork.com. We'll have the live stream going. Who'll be your quarterback, Bo Wall? We weren't sure if Sam Stevens, your offense coordinator, was like, hey, Bo took a big sack. Maybe we'll just get Garrett Grondell the second quarter. But then Bo never came back, so we kind of figured out he must have got hurt. How bad was Bo hurt, and how's he doing this week, and what's his status? Do you know at this point yet if he'll be able to play or not?
Well, he's doing good. We're taking that one day by day, and then it's probably going to be a game decision deal. And so we're taking that day by day and see how he feels and see how he goes. So basically that's where we're at right now with Bo.
Was it on the sack? Is that where he got shook up when he took that? It looked like the defensive lineman landed right on top of maybe his hip or his ribs.
It's more of a muscle, so it's just more of that side muscle where, he hit the ground hard and he was already stretched because he was throwing the ball at the same time. So we're doing that day by day and see, on game time to see how he feels and see if he can go or not.
Bo's a pretty tough kid, isn't he?
Yes, really tough kid.
Did he want to come back in that game?
Yeah, he does. But, we don't – I'm not going to question what the medical people tell me and tell our staff. So they're in charge.
I wanted to ask you, Coach, what was kind of the response just from the team when Garrett Grondell came in? I know he's kind of a transfer. He's still getting to know some of these kids here, but it seemed like they tried to rally around him. It was just hard to get things going. What did you see on the sideline there?
It's the same thing that I've taught these guys when I came here. It's the next guy up. I don't know if you guys see right off the first quarter, my linebacker got hurt. Mm-hmm. And I said, it's the next guy up. So I put in, Bo Meredith and Boston Bundy over Kolu. Kolu, he went down too. So, and they rally. And that's my whole purpose telling those guys. I said, it don't matter to me who's going to line up and who's going to go. It's the next guy up. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you're a freshman, a sophomore. I'm going to throw you in there. That's the only way we're going to learn and grow from this game and, eventually learn something from it. So.
You look. How's leadership been all the way through fall camp, first season? These guys hungry in film room and hungry at practice after a loss. That's something, when you're the state champ, you don't want to come out on a sour note and lose that first game, even though it's to one of the better teams in the state. Have you seen some resiliency this week so far?
Yeah, well, you guys saw that in the second half on both sides of the ball. Those young men stood up and they took a punch in the mouth in the first half and came out in the second half fighting. And so the whole week this week at practices, it's still the same. It's up tempo, upbeat. Even our meetings. I mean, all these kids are there early in the morning, and they're probably close to over 100 of them. So it doesn't change anything for these young men. They're excited, and they know, they're realists too. All these young men about, who we're facing. So leadership is really good, with our 4 captains and the other 3 guys that are, they have something to say to the guys. They're going to say it, but we haven't dropped off of anything since our first loss. These guys showed up on Monday, showed up on Saturday in our meetings in the morning and watched film. Showed up on Monday and they practiced hard. So.
Coach, Lehigh go a little behind enemy lines here, 14-0 last year, 1-0 this year with a 28-14 win over Davis last week. What are you seeing on the film? What are some guys that are sticking out to you for Lehigh?
Lehigh, they have a really good O-line. Those guys are big across the board, and then they got a 6'6" tight end. We got a task in hand for our defense, but we got some plan. Their quarterback is young, but knowing Ed Larson for a long time, he's going to make adjustment. He always adjusts to the personnel he has every year. So that's one thing what I saw on film is he slowed the pace a little bit down. Last year he went really fast because he had the older guys to do it with. But his team is very athletic, still athletic group, but they're young. And I know he's going to control that thing on Friday night. So I'm excited to see a good friend, Ed Larson. So
yeah, Ed spent some time here. He was the coach at then Dixie State for a couple years as the offensive coordinator, and now at Lehigh. 2 old college coaches locking horns as high school head coaches on a Friday night. Should be a lot of fun. Kickoff 7 o'clock up at Lehigh. Thunder fans making the trip up there. And if you can't, you can watch it on our website, thefansportsnetwork.com. We'll have the live stream going. Caden and Mark will be on the call. Coach Tapasa, it was a pleasure. Thanks for coming in.
Okay, thank you.
And hopefully hopefully not too many more times we'll see you during the season, because you're only going to join me if you lose, right?
Yes. I told, Dixon on Friday last week, I said, you'll only see me when we lose. It's everything is about these kids. That's why I took the job. When we win, you'll see all these kids come here and sit down with you guys and answer your questions along with my assistants. But when we lose, I'm the leader of the pack, and that's why I got these big shoulders to take it. However, the questions are asked, that's how I'm going to deal with it.
Yeah, I don't think it doesn't sound like anybody's hitting the panic button after one loss against a good football team.
No.
Coach, pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I wish I was going up, too, so I could, keep the police off your tail on the team bus. But
real quick story, guys. Couple of years ago, me and Dixon were late going up to the bus to get on the airplane for Southern Utah football. I like to think he was ahead of me, so he got pulled over. He was my leading blocker, so I get to go get on the plane and make fun of him when – that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Coach
Appreciate it.
Coach Taps, I did him a favor. I got the ticket. He made the team plane. Luckily, I made the team plane, too. I think Coach Taps said, I think Dixon's still coming. He was driving slow on the freeway. He probably
couple minutes behind.
Told the pilot, hold the plane, and I got on it. That was a good time. Good time. I'm just glad I made the plane. I don't even know if I got a ticket on that one or not, but funny story there. We'll take the break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show on a Wednesday. That was Coach Taps, Desert Hills football coach. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be right back.
Thanks, guys.